Now welcome back, and we're back to the flange connection here. So initially we had created this flange and created this flange. So the first flange came with its own bolts by default, and the second flange came with its own bolts by default. So these bolts are clashing. So if I move my mouse, you can see on top here you can see the bolts, and the bottom end here you can see the bolts showing up. So we want to delete all these bolts and create our own bolts here. So what we're going to do is that we are going to use the position of the positions of these bolts to mark the locations of our own bolts. Then we get rid of these after creating that. And to mark the positions, we will use the points tool, and I'll come to edit, then come to points and click on the drop down arrow there and pick on at any position. This is the best for me, and this is the best for particular marking on this particular member. If you really want to just one or a single point, and if you want 2 points, if you want to as a center of any 2 points, use online point. So in this case, I'll try to use the 2 and see which one will be applicable here. So let me just invoke that. So if I mouse over here, you can be able to see I can be able to snap on top here, and maybe snapping on top here will not snap actually exactly on the surface of this particular flange. So I need a tool that will help me create a point that will flash at the center of this bolt, but it's touching this plate. So if, for example, if I snap there and try to rotate this, press Control and pick any rotation there, you can see that that point is right on top, and I want this point slightly to be on the surface of this particular plate. So that's my target. So how do you get there? Let me now go back to edit once again and come to points here and click on that drop down arrow and pick on online option there. So I'm going to snap on that end and snap on this end, these 2 points here. So I want to create a point in between these 2 locations I've just selected to make the to locate a point at the center of the 2 points that I've just selected. So if I click there, you'll be able to see I have a point there. So if you come back to Control R just to enable you to pick. If I press Control R, you'll be able to see my cursor change to plus sign. And if you take a look here, I'm told to pick the origin for view rotation. So this will be my origin. Let me just click on that spot, then left click on my cursor, or left click on my mouse, then hold. I'll be able to turn that. So if I turn it on that way, you can see these points actually flashing right on the top of this particular plate. So that is the thing I wanted to be created, not this one. So I'll go ahead and select on that and delete. And the next thing I want to locate a point here. So I'll come to point here. I told you how you can access that. You come to edit, then come to points and click the drop down arrow. I can use this option at any position. So I want to snap up at a point right there. So this point, just to locate the center of this particular member on top here that is connected to this particular flange. So that has been created. So the next thing we want to do now, we want to explode this. So once we explode, we'll be able to get rid of these bolts. So I select on this, then right click and come to explode. So if I explode that, I'll be able now to handle these components as individual. So I'll just select on the bolt here, then click delete. I'll come at the bottom end here also on this bottom flange and select on it, then right click and come to explode, and come to this bolt here, select on the bolt and delete. So we have the bolts out of our connection. So we want to create our own bolts that will not be clashing, a bolt that will be fastening the first flange and the second flange. So I'll come to steel. So under steel, I'll come to bolt, and I'll select the first plate here and select the second plate here. Now, I want to place a bolt here. So prior to placing the bolt, we'll have to make sure our center is intact. So how do you ensure that? First of all, we'll make sure this point is on the same level with this point. And remember, let me just right click and just take you back slightly. Remember this point, I don't think whether it is on the same surface with this point, because this member has slightly gone to flush with the surface of this end plate here until the end plate, it has gone through this plate. So it could be not on the same surface. So what we'll do, we'll use some 2 points here. I'll come to edit and come to points there. I'll pick on any position. So I want to snap at the edge of that flange and click on the edge of that flange. So I want to carry these points, and this point, it is on the same level with this. I want to copy these 2 points. So let me just select on this, then right click and come to copy. I want to hold it from that spot and take it right here. So this point is now on the same level with this one. So let me just get rid of that. Get rid of that. I think you're getting my point. So this point is the same level with this. This point is beneath this point. If you try to check the level. Now, we'll come back to bolt creation. We want to create a connection between this flange and this flange. I'll come to steel, then come to bolt here. I select this flange and select the bottom flange, then press my space bar here, and I'll place my bolt right there. So I'll come, once I've located the location of the bolt, I'll just try to pick any point adjacent to it or close to it and click right there to create a point, to create a bolt. So if I press Control and turn that round, you'll be able to see our bolt is passing through and there's no collision or clashing of the bolts. So I want to add a flange or a washer here. Just double click on the bolt and I can check that washer to be placed. You can see that we have that in place. So the next move is just to populate this around the flange. So, and prior to effecting that, first of all, let's change or check the size of our bolt. This is 20 M20. The grade is 8.8 XOX. So you can just leave it at that. M20 is sufficient. Now, I want to distribute or populate the bolts around this flange. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to come to applications and component here and type polar array. Just type polar, and if I scroll down, I'll be able to see bolt polar array. So if I double click in here, if I double click on this particular tool here, I'll be able to see this bolt polar array here. And these have some instructions here or some workflows here. So we have the center point which we have created there, and we have the method in which we intend to create the bolt. So we have a variety of workflows here or methods. I'll come here and I'll just retain it on the first total number of items and angle. I'll just retain it on that. How many bolts we need 12 bolts, and the angle is the full circle, which will be 360, and 12 bolts we have in place. So what we're going to do, I'm going to select the bolt. Let me just first of all deselect that, then come here and invoke that command, and I'll come here. Once I've done so, I'll select the bolt. So once I've done so, I'll come and pick on this radio button here to define my center point. So once I've picked my center point will be that. So once I've done so, I'll come here and click copy, and all the bolts will be placed all around this particular flange. So I'll just press Control and pick my rotation point. I'll be able to turn that around, so you can see we no longer have any clashing of bolts around this particular flange. So that's how you can do that, and that's how you can create the flange connection. So before creating the drawings, as we move, I'll show you how we can take back to. I can take back. I will take back the assembly of these base plates and all the stiffeners to this column. Same will apply to this. I'll show you how we can go back and reassemble and create that assembly between these two and these two against the flange. So let's meet on the next presentation on how we can move further on adding more members that will be defining on how the advertising steelwork frame will be holding the canvas in place. So let's meet then. Bye bye. This is Maurice Dimba, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel. And bye bye. Let's meet then.